Hi guys, welcome back to AFTV and welcome back to Straight Outta Colney. We're here to have a look at what Mikel Arteta has been saying ahead of the Brighton game, the final game for the international break. I'm all smiles because I'm still over the moon after that. Not just North London derby win, but the performance that went with it. Just all the players were fantastic, but it's kind of the accumulation of everything, the performance of the players, the way they performed as a team, Mikel Arteta's performance as manager, although I had some questions over how late the subs were, but we'll leave that. I thought Arteta was fantastic. The fans were superb. And I don't know, just to see Tottenham ship 3 goals again for the third time in 2 weeks was fantastic. So listen, I'm buzzing off that, but, and I said this a year ago when we won at Old Trafford and we had Aston Villa at home next. I said, it kind of means nothing if we don't do the business in the next game. I know that can be true of every game, but I'm talking about building momentum. I'm talking about having that moment where you think the project's gone bang, and for it to have gone bang, it needs to continue. It's not good enough to say, we beat Spurs, we were fantastic, because let's be frank, it's one really good performance in 6 games. So we need to go to Brighton and listen, hopefully win, because they're a good side. I'm going to talk about that and go through Arteta's comments, but at least perform to a level that us as Arsenal fans can be proud of. Now that should yield a win, but football's a funny game. But I'm expecting Arsenal to go and win, and by expecting I mean that's the demands I have for the club. It's going to be tricky, as Arteta says, but I think it's going to be a really interesting test, and probably, dare I say, the biggest test of the 4 since the international break. Because let's face it, we know Spurs have good players. We know Spurs can be a good side, but they weren't at the races at all. And it was a comfortable North London derby win, really, all things considered. So, big game, Brighton. Let's go straight into it, because Arteta was asked about playing Brighton, how he's been feeling. And this is what he said. He said it will be a really difficult game. They've been on a really good run. They are playing well and getting the results that they deserve. It's a really competitive match that we are looking ahead to, and we know the importance of it. He was then asked about doing the double over Brighton last season, and he said, that's a different season with different momentum, and we should not focus on that. We should just focus on how we're going to get prepared to have the best possible performance, and after that try to win the game. And then Arteta basically spoke a little bit more about some of the changes they've made in terms of the football they're playing. We saw Jamie Carragher analyse them as well, saying that they've always been a team that create a lot of chances, but this season they're looking a bit more efficient, even though actually when you look at things like XG, they're not creating quite as much. But under Graham Potter, they've always been a side that impose themselves on the opposition. They want to play, they want to create chances. And I've seen Brighton lose games last season, even this season drop points at times, and you think, oh my word, I mean, how have they not got something out of this game? How have they not scored more? Because they are such an exciting team. And I've got to say, I really like what Brighton are doing. I really like what Graham Potter's doing. Mikel Arteta's turning things around, but if things were to go sour again, Graham Potter's the kind of guy we should be taking a look at. I really think he kind of encaptures what I think we want to see from Arsenal and with what he's doing at Brighton. So, but listen, that's kind of enough praising Brighton and enough praising Potter, because we've got a manager who looks like he's turning things around, Mikel Arteta, and I've been more patient than most when it comes to seeing if this project will come about. I've always felt Arteta has something about him, and listen, I'm not in a position where I'm going to say he's turned it around, things are great again, but there are definitely signs of improvement, and I think this should be a really interesting game. Brighton, with the way they like to attack teams, they're going to be at home, but also Arteta and his sides they've suited playing teams that want to take the game to us. We want the game to be open. We want the game to be end to end. I think that suits Arsenal and the players we've got. So I think that'll be very interesting, just from a perspective of who's going to assert their dominance more in the game. And if you're talking player for player, it should be Arsenal. But Brighton are a good side, and as we mentioned, they don't make it easy. But we do go into the game with one, in terms of team news and injuries, with one major blow going into the game, and that is Granit Xhaka's injury. Now, originally thinking it was going to be about 6 to 8 weeks, we're now hearing it could be 3 months. And here's what Mikel Arteta had to say. He's very disappointed about it, obviously. These were his words. He said, Obviously, it's really bad news personally for Granit. He's had a couple of incidents already this season with COVID, with suspension, and now with the long-term injury. He's a strong man, and he will use this time to focus on other things, and I'm sure he will be back in the right place when he's back. Obviously, he's a big player for us, someone who's really important, and he will be missed. Other players have to step in. He went on a little bit further when asked again. He said, first of all, it's obviously a significant injury, but he probably escaped an even worse injury than he could have had from the action, because that action from the cruciate ligament is a tricky one. It is what it is. His mentality is top. He knows what he needs to do now. Hopefully he can escape surgery as well. That is something that is really, really important. And after that, start preparing himself in the best possible way, because time flies. And he's right, time flies. Now, I really, really hope Granit Xhaka recovers well and comes back as soon as possible. He was fantastic in the derby, and I've got to say, it was hard to watch him sort of put in that performance and him have to come off the way he did. I mean, it's hard for any player when you know that they've suffered a long-term injury. And he's clearly very important to Arteta. And I still have my doubts about how important he is to Arsenal and the way we want to play. But there's no doubt that Arteta thinks he's crucial, and that's important to me. That is important to me. And he always gives us all on the pitch. So I do think it's a real shame for him that he's had to sustain this injury. And listen, we need the depth. And we need the competition. That's something that Arteta addresses actually very soon. I'm going to address that in a sec. And it is a shame for Granit. I hope he recovers well. Hope he recovers soon. 3 months out. We're just going to have to get through October and November, which should be fine. But December's going to be a busy period. Later on in the show, we're going to talk about who could potentially be coming in, because Arteta did address that. But it's a bad one. I mean, 3 months out. Knee injury, it could have been worse, and he's even saying things like hopefully he'll escape surgery. I mean, it sounds like it's not even completely ruled out yet. So listen, Granit, go rest, spend time with your kids, your family, do your rehab, and come back flying. And the one thing I'll give Granit Xhaka this: whenever he misses game time, whether it's because of an injury or because of a suspension or just being in and out of the team or whatever, whenever he comes back, he never needs a game to get going. He is straight back in. He's got this kind of ability to stay mentally and physically prepared no matter what. This injury is going to be a test, but I'm sure he'll come back when he is cleared and told he's fit to play. He'll come straight back in. I've got no doubt. So, yeah, we'll see. And it's on Lokonga and Maitland-Niles and El Neni and whoever to force Arteta to keep them in the team, because Xhaka's his guy. Xhaka is his guy. Whether some of you like it, some don't, that's his guy, and they're going to have to work hard to keep their place. So yeah, let's see who takes that opportunity, but wishing Granit Xhaka all the best, of course. On to more positive vibes, more positive news. He was asked about how kind of everyone's been feeling this week, and he talked about how the North London derby, is a very special match, and it's, it is one. We've been feeling it in the office. You win it, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they're good days. You feel good about those days. You feel excited to see Arsenal again, and I can imagine that there's definitely more of a buzz around Colney at the moment. So I imagine that there's suddenly a sense of optimism that actually they can start to do something. Brighton, a win there would be a great way to consolidate that. He talked about how they've experienced a beautiful day with their people. That was on the Sunday with the fans, and that they won another one at Brighton. But that is something that obviously Arsenal have to earn. That's what he's been saying, and he's right. You got to earn it. It doesn't just happen. Can't just click fingers and it's going to happen. You beat Spurs doesn't mean you're going to beat Brighton. Doesn't mean they're going to make it easy for you. So yeah. Always nice to hear positive things like that. Let's talk about competition in the team and players individually, because he was asked about Aaron Ramsdale and the Bernd Leno situation. Obviously, we know Leno has had some stuff to say about kind of his form and his situation and being Arsenal's number one. Ramsdale's come in and done very, very well. It's a very interesting quote. So listen to this. Arteta says, everybody has to raise the level, and that's really positive and is happening in different positions. You can see when players are coming in now, they're fully ready to take the place. Now it's going to happen with Granit, and before it happened when he was suspended, and it's happened in other positions. Players are coming up and showing that they are ready because the way they train and the way they play is top. So after they get rewarded when they have the minutes. I'm not going to say too much on this. I think it's really simple. A club like Arsenal should have serious competition for key places. And For me, Ramsdale and Leno, that's serious competition. If Ramsdale starts to struggle, and I'm not saying one mistake and he's out, but I'm saying if Ramsdale were to string 5-10 mediocre to not great games, if he has one good performance in 8 or 9, then fans will be saying, bring Leno back. Bring Leno back. He didn't do that much wrong when he got dropped. And for 2 years, he proved he was a perfectly decent goalkeeper. And I'm sure Ramsdale won't be putting in those performances because he knows there's a German international in Bernd Leno, waiting for his opportunity. Competition's key. I think someone like Gabriel, might benefit from that as well. We know he's probably our best centre-back right now, but Arteta had no problem bringing Pablo Mari in last season. He had no problem playing Mari because Mari did well. Now, I know Mari's had a tricky start to this season, but I still think there's a very good... I exaggerate. I think there's a good centre-back in Mari, and I think there's a very good backup centre-back in Mari. I think if Gabriel got injured, yes, we'd feel it. For sure, we'd feel it because Gabriel's a top player. Or if Gabriel was missing for any other reason. But Mari, I think, has proven over last season he can come in, and actually we don't have to suffer too much for it. So competition is really key. In midfield with Maitland-Niles, Lokonga, Elneny, that's a decent amount of competition. I think those three... I don't think you can call who's going to start alongside Partey. Likely Lokonga, but it wouldn't surprise me if it's either of the other two. So competition is key, and it's a good thing that Arteta's been talking about that, and it's a good thing that he's definitely pushing that at the club. Listen, if Aubameyang struggles, Lacazette will come in, and Lacazette did fine last season. Lacazette did okay. So yeah, it's important. We talked on the centre-backs. He was asked about Ben White and how he thinks White's doing. And he said he's been impressed. He's impressed, but he's still young. They're all getting to know each other. They're forming partnerships. He was asked about the White and Gabriel partnership, and he said, this is what he had to say. They played really well at the weekend. The understanding is getting better, and the cohesion among the back is getting better. The more they play it, it will keep improving. We have different partnerships that will work, but certainly they played well at the weekend. Listen, I like the White-Gabriel partnership. I think when Saliba comes back next year, and I've not given up hope of seeing William Saliba in an Arsenal shirt, but when Saliba comes back, you're starting to think that that's 3, if you include Mari, maybe Holding still around. There's a really healthy amount of competition and potential for that position. Players that for me will only get better and better. So yeah, I'm really liking that partnership, and they are starting to understand each other. I really like the way in the Norwich, Burnley and Spurs games where we had a lot of the ball actually in all those games, the way they snuff out danger when we are attacking, we're pressing, we're on the front foot, they seem comfortable enough to deal with the players when they're kind of having to race in behind, or their space behind, and get back and cover, win their headers and sustain the attack, sustain the press. They've looked good when it comes to that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more of that. Not much more to say about that. White, Gabriel, keep doing what you're doing. Another really nice quote here from Arteta was about the fans. The fans have been fantastic, honestly. The couple of atmospheres I've been in, the fans have been absolutely immense. The Emirates have been rocking. You can even hear it from the TV. This is what he had to say about the fans. He said, I've always said it, or let me start again. He says, I've always said that I've been here for 18 to 20 months, and for 16 or 17 of those months, we haven't had our people with us. It's impossible to build anything like that because they are the biggest part of our foundation, and when they are with us and when they are embracing what we are doing, you see the difference because they're able to create momentum and create the energy and the passion that they did at the weekend, and when that happens, the team responds. I don't think Arteta can... I'm not saying he's doing this, but if Arteta's suggesting that the project was on hold because we didn't have the fans, I don't think that's fair, because a lot of teams still played good football last season and scored a lot of goals, and they didn't need their fans to do it. And one of our biggest issues was chance creation last year. But I understand what he means in terms of perhaps forming relationship and this set of fans buying into this team. Now, players like Willian came and went, and Willian never played in front of fans. Not once did he get any minutes in front of Arsenal fans. A lot of transition happened with players last season that the fans didn't get to see. And maybe that's kind of, I wouldn't say a good thing, but a lot of stuff happened that if you look at the Arsenal that the fans left and you look at the Arsenal they've come back to, it is different. It's a different group. It's a lot of work and a lot of transactions, as Arteta likes to say, have gone on. And this does feel fresh. And I wonder if that's playing a part into why the fans are so jubilant and loud and exciting, creating such a great atmosphere at the Emirates. I think a part of it's also that, with COVID, they've had to miss out for the last year. I definitely think that's a part of it. But the fans have been fantastic. And if Arteta keeps doing his job, the players keep doing their job on the pitch, and the fans keep turning up with that energy, we're going to win a lot of football games this year. And we're going to climb that table. But it's about everyone matching the energy, and it's a domino effect. The minute we start to put in a few lethargic performances, the fans will start to get a little bit... Listen, the support will always be there. The support will always be fair. And I think Arsenal fans at the Emirates get a unfair rep for their support. I think there's this feeling that things get toxic very quickly, and that's not always true. But what I will say is that a few lethargic performances and a few draws and defeats here and there, and suddenly start things to look a little like they did last season, let's say, Arsenal fans will start to just think, hold on, come on, we need you guys to get this right now, because we can't always turn up with the same energy. Well, I don't know, or maybe they can, I don't know, maybe I'm just waffling. But I do think it's about the players sustaining that energy and Arteta sustaining this kind of newfound enthusiasm that he's had in the press recently. It all feeds each other, I think, in my opinion. Let's end on a couple quick things. Arteta's obviously nominated for Premier League Manager of the Month. We're going to talk about that in News Daily, or in fact, actually, by the time you're watching this, you might have seen it. Me and Laurie will talk about Arteta being nominated for Premier League Manager of the Month, and he basically talks about how quickly things change in football, and he's right. And then asked whether this will be a bit of a roller coaster of a season. He says hopefully not, and he's absolutely right, because he wants consistency. And the idea is that you want to kind of go into these games knowing what you're going to get from Arsenal. And right now, we don't know what we're going to get, but what we've seen of late, we've definitely liked. He touched on Emil Smith-Rowe and his potential. Obviously, praised him a lot, said that there's a lot of areas for him to improve in. People are likening Wilshere to Smith-Rowe. Listen, for me, they're very different players. Aspects are similar, but Smith-Rowe is different for me. And actually, I'm seeing Smith-Rowe develop into more of a driving, attacking midfielder who can maybe get goals, who's got that class about him more than he is necessarily a playmaker, a creator. But Smith-Rowe's got lots of talent. I think his game's going to develop more and more for sure. He was then asked about the feeling of losing this kind of feeling of crisis around Arsenal, with obviously 3 wins on the bounce, 4 if you include the Wimbledon game as well, but in the league it's 3. And he said, listen, at the club we're at, the standards that we've got, every defeat is a crisis, and that's how it should be, because a team the size of Arsenal shouldn't be losing games. You're always going to lose games in a season, but it's the manner of some of the defeats as well. So hopefully he's kind of looking to turn that around. I'm sure he is. And yet, listen, we're going to lose more games between now and the end of the year, but it's the manner, and I don't want to see anything the manner of Brentford and Man City like I have done already this season. So hopefully they've got all those bad ones sort of out the way, but listen, we'll see. One last one. Obviously, this goes back to the Granit Xhaka injury. He was asked whether Ainsley Maitland-Niles is ready to step in. We've kind of gone with this as kind of one of the main titles for today's show, mainly because I want you guys to let us know in the comment section what's going to be your 11. Who comes in for Granit Xhaka? Do you go back to the 4-3-3? Do you play Lokonga or El Neni instead of Maitland-Niles against Thomas Partey? I think it's going to be interesting to see what Arteta does. But when he was asked about Ainsley Maitland-Niles, he said that Ainsley is certainly one of the options. We have used him quite a lot since the start of the season. He is doing really well, and I'm pleased with what I have seen from him. So guys, let us know in the comment section, does Ainsley Maitland-Niles come straight, does he come in? Is he the guy to step in for Granit Xhaka? We saw Lokonga come on, I think, in the North London derby. We've seen Lokonga play well against Burnley in his mini cameo, well against Norwich, well in starts against Brentford and Chelsea. He's a good player, Lokonga. There's some good competition, but Maitland-Niles as well has a sense of composure about him in the midfield that I quite like. And obviously he got that experience under Sam Allardyce last year, playing in the West Brom midfield. So perhaps midfield is where he's going to develop more. We'll see. Let us know in the comment section what you guys think. But that has been Mikel Arteta's press conference. We flew through that, as I always try to do, because there's always so much he covers. But yeah, the highlights. Xhaka's out. We wish him all the best. Hopefully he's back soon. Obviously Brighton being a very good side. It's going to be tough on the weekend. But then the main thing that I really enjoyed was the talk about competition. You know, competition is what's driving Arsenal forward, because there's healthy competition for me, and I think that's crucial. So yeah, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out all the contents coming out ahead of the Brighton game, and we will see you very soon. Thanks for joining.